You have been conditioned to believe that the highest level of mental toughness a human being can possibly achieve is resilience. And today I am going to explain exactly why. Aiming for resilience guarantees that you will remain fundamentally average for the rest of your life. Society praises the resilient individual, the person who gets knocked down by a massive economic recession, a brutal breakup, or a catastrophic business failure, and manages to eventually bounce back to the exact same position they were in before the disaster hit. They survive the storm, they dust themselves off, and they return to their baseline. But returning to your baseline is not a victory. It is a massive waste of a crisis. If you are striving for absolute sovereignty, undeniable wealth, and the power to dictate your own reality, you cannot afford to merely survive chaos. You must learn how to weaponize it. You must graduate from being resilient to becoming absolutely anti-fragile. This is a concept pioneered by the mathematical statistician Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and it is the ultimate operating system of the elite 1%. To understand anti-fragility, you must look at a spectrum. On the far left of the spectrum, you have things that are fragile, like a glass vase. When you drop the glass vase, it shatters into 1,000 pieces. It is destroyed by volatility and shock. In the middle of the spectrum, you have things that are robust or resilient, like a block of concrete. If you drop the concrete, it does not break. It simply remains exactly as it was. It resists the shock, but it gains absolutely no benefit from it. But on the far right of the spectrum, you have the anti-fragile. The anti-fragile is a system that actually requires stress, chaos, and destruction in order to grow stronger. Think of the human muscular system. When you go into the gym and lift incredibly heavy weights, you are intentionally inflicting severe trauma and micro-tears onto your muscle fibers. You are breaking the system down. But because the human body is anti-fragile, it does not just heal the muscle back to its original state. It overcompensates, adding new layers of dense muscle tissue so that the next time it faces that specific stressor, it can dominate it with ease. The elite do not hide from the storms of life. They actively seek out the friction because they know it is the only mechanism that forces their evolution. Right now, your entire life is completely fragile. Your income is fragile because it depends entirely on a single corporate employer who can terminate you on a Tuesday afternoon via an automated email. Your emotional state is fragile because it completely collapses the second someone leaves a negative comment on your social media or a romantic partner pulls away. Your financial portfolio is fragile because you panic the moment the news tells you the economy is slowing down. You have engineered a life of such extreme comfort and dependency that a single gust of unpredictable wind could completely level your entire empire. To own your path, you must systematically reconstruct every single pillar of your existence to feed on chaos. Let us start with your financial architecture. When a global pandemic hits, or a massive financial bubble bursts, and the stock market bleeds 20% in a single week, the fragile individual panics, sells all their assets at the absolute bottom out of sheer terror, and permanently locks in their poverty. They let their amygdala completely hijack their logic. The anti-fragile individual looks at the exact same catastrophic market crash and smiles because they have been aggressively hoarding liquid capital and mastering their emotional control for this exact moment in history. They step into the absolute wreckage and buy premium, blue-chip assets at a historic, once-in-a-decade discount. Whether they are routing capital through traditional retail brokerages or utilizing platforms like Binance, which now permits direct stock trading for eligible users in specific regions, the execution remains identical. They are systematically acquiring the fear of the masses and converting it into generational wealth. They do not just survive the recession, they emerge from the recession 10 times wealthier than when they entered it. The chaos made them richer. How do you build this financial anti-fragility when you are starting from zero? You do it by building an impenetrable stack of high-income skills that are completely immune to economic downturns. During a recession, companies will absolutely fire the middle management bureaucrats who push paper and attend useless meetings. Those jobs are fragile. But companies will never, ever fire the elite copywriter, the lethal closer, or the genius media buyer who is directly responsible for bringing revenue into the business. When you possess a skill that mathematically generates more money than it costs to employ you, you become completely immune to the macroeconomic environment. If your company goes bankrupt, you just walk across the street and sell your undeniable leverage to their competitor. You must become a mercenary of value creation. But financial anti-fragility is completely useless if your mind is fragile. You have to learn how to metabolize psychological pain and transmute it into aggressive, forward momentum. When an amateur gets rejected by a massive client or fails publicly at a business venture, they retreat to their bed, they binge-watch television to numb the sting of failure, and they shrink their ambitions so they never have to feel that pain again. They are the glass vase shattering on the floor. When the anti-fragile creator faces the exact same humiliating public failure, they sit alone in a room with a blank notebook and they perform a ruthless, completely objective autopsy on their own incompetence. They extract the raw data from the failure. They realize that their sales pitch was weak, or their product lacked market fit, or their audio quality on the video was terrible. They take that precise data, they patch the hole in their armor, and they launch the next iteration of the project with a terrifying new level of competence. The failure did not stop them. It literally provided the exact coordinates they needed to find the treasure. They used the enemy's bullets to forge a stronger shield. This requires a level of ego detachment that 99% of the population will never achieve. You have to stop viewing your life as a delicate, beautiful painting that must be protected from the elements, and start viewing it as a brutal, chaotic laboratory where massive explosions are not just expected, they are required for scientific breakthroughs. You must intentionally inject micro-stressors into your life while the stakes are still relatively low, so that when the massive, unavoidable tragedy finally strikes, your nervous system is completely callous. You take the freezing cold shower every morning, not because you like being cold, but because you are training your brain to override the panic response. You fast for 24 hours, not just to lose fat, but to prove to your biological hardware that you will not die when you are deprived of comfort. You intentionally initiate difficult, terrifying conversations with your partner or your business associates to build the psychological muscle required to handle extreme conflict. You are inoculating yourself against the disease of average. The masses spend their entire lives tiptoeing safely to the grave, praying that nothing bad ever happens to them, completely oblivious to the fact that their obsession with safety is exactly what is keeping them weak, depressed, and broke. The world is fundamentally volatile. Markets crash, industries get disrupted by artificial intelligence, relationships end in betrayal, and absolute chaos is the only true constant in the universe. If your entire life strategy relies on the hope that things will remain stable, you are playing a fool's game and you are mathematically guaranteed to lose everything. You must become a creature that actually desires the storm. You must build a business that scales when your competitors panic. You must build a mind that gets sharper when the pressure becomes unbearable. You must reach a point of such absolute terrifying self-reliance that you look at the unpredictable, chaotic nature of the future and you do not feel a single ounce of anxiety. You only feel the cold, calculated excitement of an apex predator observing a wounded herd. Your directive today is to hunt down your own fragility. Where in your life are you currently one disaster away from total ruin? If your single stream of income vanished tomorrow, Would you be evicted? If your current romantic partner left you, would your identity completely collapse? Identify the glass vases in your life and immediately begin replacing them with titanium. Build the second income stream. Harden your emotional boundaries. Stop praying for an easy life. Stop hoping for a fair economy. And start becoming the kind of undeniable, anti-fragile force of nature that uses the world's chaos as the very fuel to build an immortal legacy. Execute violently and own your path